ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear Prabhujis, we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. And in our last session we read the 37th verse. Now we are reading the 38th verse, another very beautiful verse, very famous verse of Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Shri Krishna, he is continuing and he says, Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labhao labha alabhao jaya ajayo. सुखे दुखे समय कृत्वा लाभा लाभो जया अजयो ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापम अवाप्स्यसि। ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापम अवाप्स्यसि। सुख दुखे समय कृत्वा लाभा लाभो जया जयो ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापम अवाप्स्यसि। सुख दुखे समे कृत्वा लाभा लाभौ जया जयो ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि। Sukha, happiness, dukhe, in distress, same, in equanimity, kritva, doing so, labha labhao, both in loss and profit, jaya jao jayao, both in defeat and victory. Tataha, thereafter, yuddhaya, for the sake of fighting. Yujasya, do fight. Na, never, evam, in this way, papam, sinful reaction, avapshasi, you will gain. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so, by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so, you shall never incur sin. So, the purport, Swami Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting, because he desires the battle. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or loss, profit or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. It is said, Swami Srila Prabhupada is taking a reference from Shrimad Bhagavatam, देवर्षि भूताप्त नृणाम पितृणाम ना किंकरो नायम ऋणी च राजन सर्वात्मना यह शरणम शरण्यम गतो मुकुंदम परिहृत्य कर्तम. Anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, nor the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. So, very, very important, of course, all the verses of Bhagavad Gita and all the Vedic literatures are important because Srila Vyasdeva has compiled them all. So, each and every verse is very, very important, but this is very famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva nevam papam avapshasi. Tato yuddhaya yujjasva nevam papam. Do thou fight. Yuddhaya yujjasva, for the sake of fighting. Yuddhaya yujjasva, just fight, just for the sake of fighting. Without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. Labha labhau, labh alabh, jay ajay, jaya jayo, labha labhau. Without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so you shall never incur sin. Nevam papam avapshasi, nevam papam avapshasi, you will never incur sin. So all the actions in this world, they bring reactions. Every action has an equal and opposite. People in this world, they say every action has an equal and opposite, and that is actually true. Every action, work done in the mode of goodness, in the mode of passion, in the mode of ignorance, either one act in the mode of goodness, one act piously, or one act impiously, or one act with some fruitive mentality to get some result. All work in this material world, they bring reactions which binds one, which binds everyone in this material world. Those who act piously, those who act in the mode of goodness, they have to enjoy the reactions. In the mode of goodness, one acts piously, and as such, he will have to enjoy the good results of his actions. And if one acts impiously, then he will have to suffer. So, either one works in the mode of goodness, or in the mode of passion, or in the mode of ignorance. All work will have their reactions, and as such one will be binded, or one will be bound by the reactions of one's work in this world. But here Lord Shri Krishna, he is giving a hint, and Swami Srila Prabhupada, he is explaining in the purport. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting. So Lord Shri Krishna, because he desires the battle, Lord Shri Krishna, he is insisting so much, that means he is also desiring. So when work is performed for the Supreme Lord, that work is actually karma yoga, or action in Krishna consciousness. Work in Krishna consciousness, work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of God, Supreme Lord, and to work for Him is the eternal occupation of every living entity. and that is only known as devotional service. Every living entity is actually devoted to the Supreme Lord in liberated state, but in the conditioned state, one is in ignorance and is forgetful of his real eternal occupational duty or work, and as such everyone in this world is working for themselves, which Swami Srila Prabhupada writes sense gratification. One word Swami Srila Prabhupada describes that. Working for one's own self, part and parcel individual soul is denying to serve the Supreme Lord in the conditioned state. So in the conditioned state we are working for our own self, and for our own self means for the senses, for the mind, for satisfying our intelligence, for satisfying our false ego, and they are fallen. Because they are fallen, because the soul is fallen, so the senses, the mind, the intelligence, and the ego, they are always hankering for material profit or benefit or gain or victory. But all these things, as discussed earlier also, as explained by Lord Shri Krishna, they are not in our hand. Swami Srila Prabhupada, he explained so nicely in previous verses, and in the forthcoming verses also Lord will explain the matter in more detail. So these things are not there in our hand. Victory, defeat, profit, loss. One works for the profit. Everyone works for the profit, but sometimes one has to incur loss. Everyone works for victory as per the dictations of one's mind, intelligence, and false ego. But everyone has to face a defeat. So victory, defeat, profit or loss, and happiness and distress, they come on their own as per the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As per the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, these things come in life on their own. So here Lord Shri Krishna, he is giving a hint to Swami Srila Prabhupada. He writes in the purport. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. So Lord Shri Krishna is asking Arjunji, just fight for the sake of fighting. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering. In the liberated state, every living entity has that consciousness. In the liberated state, when one is conscious of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord, and when one is conscious of his eternal occupation, his eternal duty, then in that state one only act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And that state, working in that state, working with that consciousness, not for one's own personal sense gratification, when one act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Person, for the Supreme Lord, in that state acting for Him, one does not get any reaction of his work. Nothing is pious or impious in that way. The work becomes transcendental. devotional service, action in Krishna consciousness, and by killing other bodies also for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord does not bring any sinful reaction. That's what Lord Shri Krishna is describing. By so doing, you shall never incur sin. Tato yuddhaya yujjasva nevam papam avapshasi. You will not incur any sin. Arjunji is so much afraid that by killing his own relatives and kinsmen and his father, his grandfather and teacher, he will incur sin. But Lord Shri Krishna, he is explaining, if you work with this consciousness, so the consciousness is very important. In the liberated state, one automatically acts with this consciousness. But in the conditioned state also, if one act with this consciousness only for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, if consciously one act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord as per his directions given in Bhagavad Gita, as per his directions given in other Vedic literatures, then one do not incur any sin or any reaction of the work. That work is completely in the mode of pure goodness, transcendental, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, and it brings auspiciousness for everyone. It brings auspiciousness for oneself and it brings auspiciousness for others also. So by killing the bodies of his relatives and kinsmen, Arjunji will actually be benefiting them, as described in the previous verses also by the Supreme Lord. Bhishma, Dronacharya, they will get new bodies, they will rejuvenate their old bodies and they will have new bodies for better sense gratification, for better enjoyment. Either they will be liberated or they will also attain higher planetary systems, higher lokas for superior enjoyment. So that everything should be performed for the sake, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, that everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness, so there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone. And Swami Srila Prabhupada takes this wonderful reference from Shrimad Bhagavatam, Devarshi Bhutapta Nirnam Pitrinam Nayam Kinkaro Narini Charajan Sarvatmana Sharanam Sharanyam. Sharanyam, one who is worthy, one who affords shelter to every living entity. Sharanyam, one who anyone who has taken Sharanam, one who has gone in his shelter, giving up, Gato Mukundam Parihartya Kartam. If anyone even gives up his other duties and takes shelter, complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead means working for him, working for his satisfaction. working for his satisfaction, and his satisfaction is what he wants. So here, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he himself is present with Arjunji and he is guiding Arjunji. He is asking Arjunji to fight. So to fight is Arjunji's duty for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So Devarshi Bhutap Trinam Pitrinam. Everyone is indebted to so many living entities in this world. Each one of us, we are indebted to demigods, we are indebted to our teachers, our parents, our guardians, our father, our to humanity, society, country, other living entities. We are indebted to innumerable. We are indebted to demigods. We are indebted to innumerable living entities. But because every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, even if one leaves his other duties, parihrit kartam gato mukundam, and one tries to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one takes his complete shelter, then one is not a debtor. Devarshi Bhutap Trinam Pitrinam Na Kinkaro Nayam Rini Charajan. Nayam Rini, one is not a debtor to anybody. Neither to anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor he is obliged to anyone, nor to the demigods, nor to the sages, nor to the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. Devarshi, Bhuta, Apta, Nirnam, Pitrinam, Na Kinkaro, Nayam Rini Charajan. One is not a debtor, one is not obliged to anyone. If one work to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one takes his complete shelter, then he satisfies everyone. Yasmin tushte jagat tushtam. If one tries, Swami Srila Prabhupada always he has explained with the analogy that if one tries to water the root, then he automatically waters all the branches, leaves. If one pour water in the root, then automatically all the branches and leaves of the tree are automatically nourished. If one feed the stomach, then all the bodily limbs are automatically served. So that is the concept. Very, 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 very wonderful concept. If one act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that act is action in Krishna consciousness, and in that state one is not worried. Actually, in that state of consciousness, one is actually not worried about the result, happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. But for those who are, but because we are conditioned soul, we cannot act in that consciousness. It is not possible for everyone to act in that consciousness, but still Lord Shri Krishna, he is recommending. Because by doing so, we will move towards liberation. If we act with that state of consciousness, not considering happiness and distress, victory or defeat, and only for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, if one performs his duties, then he does not incur any sin or any sinful reaction. So, very, very beautiful verse. सुख दुखे समे कृत्वा लाभा लाभौ जया जयो ततो युद्धाय युजस्व नैवं पापम अवाप्स्यसि. Working with that consciousness, you will never incur sin. So, very, very beautiful verse and a very, very important concept, transcendental concept. And all of us, the Supreme Lord, in His most magnanimous incarnation, Lord Chaitanya has already told all of us what we have to do in this world, in this age of Kali. And in that way, we can actually benefit our own self and others. So, very beautiful verse and very beautiful purport. Very important concept. सुख दुखे समे कृत्वा लाभा लाभौ जया जयो ततो युद्धाय युजस्व नैवं पापम अवाप्स्यसि. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. So, with this I would like to stop here, and we'll continue our study. We'll take up 39th verse in our next session. Till then, I would like to stop here. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस बाय चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद जी की जय. All glories to His Divine Grace Krishna Kripa Murti Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Bhagavad Gita. All glories to Lord Chaitanya. All glories to Lord Holy Name. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.